Hello, my name is Aman Sultan West. I'm an artist, poet and freelancer living in Bristol. In this video, I'm going to talk you through my project titled A Journey Home that came about through our Extinction Silences consultations. Extinction Silences was an experimental participatory project exploring environmental engagements through the lens of colonial histories. This started in 2022 and finished at the beginning of 2024. Some of the conversations we had as consultants included challenging the ownership of the taxidermy animals in the World Wildlife Gallery at Bristol Museum. We each then separated to create our own projects in response to what we had learnt in the gallery space. Something that bothered me within the space was the severe lack of information provided about each animal, and also the silent stories that had been clearly affected by colonialism, both animal and human, that were missing from the displays. I wanted to create a project disassembling that ownership, disrupting the colonial narratives and museum displays. To disrupt the displays, I looked at the possibility of repatriation, sending the animal home to where it was taken from. I also wanted to look at creating a replica of the animal using 3D printing to paint the model to look like the taxidermy and to replace the original. Using this as a way of revealing the hidden truths behind the taxidermy animal, its journey to the museum, and the historical context around its arrival, and the human stories that are intertwined within this. I called this project A Journey Home. A Journey Home is looking at opening conversations around repatriation, challenging ownership, and disrupting displays. This project will begin by looking specifically at the taxidermy pangolin. Why the long-tailed black-bellied pangolin? The reason I picked this animal was down to the 3D modelling and scanning process. The scanner doesn't pick up on small fur tufts or loose feathers. This meant we could only pick smooth animals. Due to the title of the original project, Extinction Silences, I wanted to pick an animal that by doing this work could also help raise awareness of their extinction. I could pick between the kaka, the kakapo, and the pangolin. The museum didn't have any information about the other two, however they had the donation information of the pangolin. The information the museum had to start with was a label saying January 1829, Captain Potter, ship Tom Cod of Bristol. Using this information, it was my goal to uncover where the pangolin's home was. To find out more, I went to the Bristol archives. The only way for me to track the ship was through the import and export tax and shipping records. The difficulty with these records is that we only see the items that the shipping merchants would have made money on. As the pangolin was donated, it won't be seen as an item that they made any money on. This is quite a lot of information here to take in, so I'll break it down for you. This is the shipping records of the Tom Cod ship. The crew, including the captain, James Potter, arrived on December 29, 1828, bringing with them 1,055 elephant's teeth, 11 tons of black ebony, 58 casks of palm oil, all of which are now endangered, and the two latter cause huge amounts of deforestation and negative effects to local ecosystems. A box of tortoise shells, 200 coconuts, and 28 sea morse teeth. Sea morse is another way of saying sea lion. They paid their duties on the 5th of January, but as you can see, this document says their frequent shipping destination was Africa. This was the only ship on any of the records I could find from 1828 to 1830 going back and forth to Africa from Bristol. However, Africa is a huge continent, and I needed to find specifically where the pangolin was from. It took a few weeks for them to import all the items they shipped over to Bristol. After a day of looking, I finally found a document from February 26, 1829, stating that the Tom Cod was headed back to Africa, specifically to Cape Coast Castle. Cape Coast Castle was a trading post on the coast of Ghana. It was used as a prison where colonizers would then enslave millions of people from all over Africa. The harrowing human stories that speak to the experiences of the transatlantic trade of enslaved people have not been linked to this part of the museum. And as part of this project, I think that it's really important to do so. This information brings into question the nature of the voyages from Bristol to Cape Coast Castle. The writer Kwadwo Opoku Agumang is a professor of literature at the University of Cape Coast, as well as a poet who explores the history of this area. He is someone that I would like to speak to in regards to further informing this project and revealing the true narrative of Bristol's involvement in the transatlantic trade of enslaved people that the museum has not included in the World Wildlife Gallery. Here is a poem that was written by him. If you would like to take a minute, you can read it here. What is the importance of this story for this project? Within this project, I hope to include not only the journey of the pangolin, but also how that intertwines with human experiences. It's important not to give the pangolin a human voice, but to let the stories and lived experiences behind it speak. From here, I was looking for guidance. I didn't know where to go next with my research. Here you can see some lovely images of my cheerleaders during this project. Ella Trudgeon, Stephen Welsh, Lisa Graves, Isla Gladstone and Jack Evans. From their recommendations, I moved on to looking at who I should be having these discussions of ownership and repatriation with. I started planning to reach out to the Alliance for Pangolin Conservation Ghana, Pangolin GH. They are a group based in South Ghana, a local not-for-profit organisation leading research to understand, rescue, rehabilitate and reintroduce pangolins into their natural habitats. We met Oti, the assistant coordinator of Pangolin GH and conservation scientist, to learn all about what they do, how they help educate young people, and about how to save the pangolins. Oti explained to us how they start by denouncing pangolins as meat, by exploring the importance that pangolins have on the local ecosystem. Having worked with the organisation for 6 years, he has only ever seen one black-bellied pangolin, which truly shows how endangered the species is. Part of the Pangolin GH's goals is acquiring land and building materials to create a resource centre. This is something I would like to use this project for, as a way to help them with their journey to keep educating people about the extinctions of pangolins and potentially building a new home for the taxidermy pangolin currently living in the Bristol Museum's World Wildlife Gallery, using this project to raise funds for them to have a space of their own. In terms of educating the history of the pangolin and for breaking down the current colonial narratives in the World Wildlife Gallery, I'm really looking forward to seeing where these conversations take us and if there could be a possibility of repatriating the pangolin to its home. What might it look like to repatriate the taxidermy pangolin back to Pangolin GH? So as we draw near to an end, I want to spend the last few minutes telling you what my plans are for the project now. My intentions are to start creating spaces for these conversations. I want to create meaningful connections with communities in Bristol, specifically with people from the Ghanaian diaspora, and also collaborations in Ghana at the university, to speak more about the museum's ownership or the council's ownership of the taxidermy animal, to raise awareness of the pangolin's extinction, to rewrite and disrupt the colonial narratives and displays of the pangolin, and to create educational and transparent documentation of the work. I hope that this project can start to help rewrite the current repatriation framework from reactive to proactive, and ensure that the Bristol Museum stands by their promise to decolonise the museum. When I first started Extinction Silences back in 2022, I wanted to burn, rage and destroy. I was outraged, I was hurt and disappointed, and I was angry. But having worked and developed a project that I feel can platform silence voices in meaningful and intentional ways, I now want to research, educate, replicate, collaborate, and proactively repatriate so that this place can begin to respect and let go of the appropriated memories, stories, belongings, and nature that live inside it. Thank you.
So, dear Pangolin, I wish you could know how I love you and how I wish I could do more to protect you and your habitat. But due to how we treated you in the past, it's becoming more difficult for you to trust us again. That by this letter reaffirming my commitment in protecting you and your habitat. Always stay safe until I come to find you. Yours faithfully, Papa Pangolin.